In the last part of section 6.1, what we were doing was converting percents to fractions. So for example, if we had a 5%, we convert this to a fraction by going 5 per, which means divided by 100. That's what 5% means as a fraction. And of course, we can go ahead and simplify this fraction. 5 is 1 times 5 and 100 is 5 times 20. And we cancel the common factors and reduce the fraction to 1 over 20, which is in the lowest terms. Now, we were dealing with whole numbers in the previous part, but now we're going to look at different types of numbers. First, we have a mixed number. And remember that our goal is to change everything to fractions. So we change the mixed number 66 and 2/3 to a fraction. So we have 66 times 3, and we're going to multiply 66 by 3. So 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 3 is 18, so that makes it 19 when you add the 1. And of course, we add the 2, which is this, and divide by 3. So this becomes a 200 by 3. So all we are doing is changing 66 and 2/3 to a fraction to begin with. But we still have not done anything with the percent symbol. So remember, we have to convert the percent to a fraction. It's not just this number. So the percent symbol has to go. Now, how does that work? So we have 200 over 3 per cent. So this means divided by 100. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to use this symbol for division because we are doing division of fractions. It's easier to see it this way. So it's divided by 100. Now remember, when you're dividing a fraction with a number, you have to flip the fraction and then, of course, first change the division to multiplication and then flip the fraction. So let's think of this as 100 over 1. So it's 200 over 3 times 1 over 100. So we have 2 times 100 over 3 times 100. We cancel the 100s, which is basically canceling these zeros, and we are left with 2/3. So what have we shown here? The percent, 66 and 2/3%, is equal to the fraction 2/3. So if I say 66 and 2/3% of the value of my account, it's the same as saying 2/3 of my account. It's the same thing. They mean the same thing. But remember two things. One, you have to change the mixed number to a fraction. You also have to change the percent to a fraction. So the percent also has to change. Unless you've done these two things, you haven't changed the percent to a fraction. Now, we have a decimal number, 0.2, and I'm going to write this as per cent, which means per 100, which is divided by 100. Now, remember, we have to write, our goal is to write the percent as a fraction. It almost looks like a fraction, but we need to make sure that we have a whole number over a whole number. Unless the two numbers are whole numbers, we can't call it a fraction. So how do we make the 0.2 a whole number? By shifting the decimal point one place value to the right, which makes it a 2. And how do we do this? By multiplying with a 10. Now, whatever we do to the numerator, we need to do the exact same thing to the denominator. So we have 2, which is 0.2 times 10, divided by 100 times 10, which is 1,000. So 2 over 1,000 is the fraction. However, we have to simplify it and write it in the lowest terms. 2 is 2 times 1, and half of 1,000 is 500. So we write it as 2 times 500. And now we can cancel the 2's, and that's equal to 1 over 500. Now, if you didn't think of that, you could just simply divide the 1,000 by 2. So 2 times 5 is a 10. We subtract, bring the 0 down. 2 times 0 is a 0. Bring another 0 down. 0 is a 0, and that ends all the digits. So we have 2 times 500 is 1,000. So in each of these cases, what we did was we changed the percent to a fraction. So if we have a mixed number, change that to a fraction first. It'll be an improper fraction. And then change the percent symbol as well, and do the simplification and write your fraction in the lowest terms. Converting percents to decimals, when percents are given as okay, so here we are, 15%. Now we're going to change percents not to fractions but to decimals. If I had to change 15% to a fraction, I would go 15 over 100, and then of course I would simplify it. 5 times 3 is 15, 5 times 20 is 100. I would cancel the 5's and I'd get 3 over 20. But that's not what the question is asking us to do. This is just a review of what we did in the previous questions. Now we're going to change it to a decimal, which is much easier. So we have 15 per 100. Remember the decimal, we have to write our percent as divided by 100, and then think about how do we change this to a decimal. Remember, division by a power of 10 is simply shifting the decimal point to the left by a certain number of place values, and the number of place values you shift to the left is equal to the number of zeros in the power of 10. So we have 2 zeros, which means if you have the number 15, you know the decimal is at the end, we shift 2 place values to the left and we get 0.15. And we've changed the percent to a decimal. So we have 172.31, which is a decimal number, percent. Now, percent is the same. Now we have to replace the percent symbol with 172.31 per 100, which means we divide by 100. That would shift the decimal point to the left by how many places? 1, 2, because there are 2 zeros in 100. So once it's shifted, remember we're going to the left, we get 1.7231. What we've done is changed the percent to a decimal. Now if you had to change a percent to a fraction, just remember what we did. It would be divided by 100, and we change both the numbers have to be whole numbers. In this case, we change the numerator to a whole number by multiplying by 100, and we do the exact same thing to the denominator. Here's another one. We have 0.55%, and what's our goal? Not to change it to a fraction, but to change it to a decimal. So percent is divided by 100. Dividing by 100, remember if there are 2 zeros, it is the same as shifting the decimal point 2 places to the left. So we have 0.0055. So we've changed the percent to a decimal. Remember, if we had to change it to a fraction, we would go 0.55 over 100. Now, if we have to change it to a fraction, we have to change the numerator and denominator to a whole number. Here we don't have to worry about the denominator, but the numerator, to change it to a fraction, we'd have to multiply by 100, which means the denominator would have to be multiplied by 100. Multiplying by 100 is the same as shifting the decimal point 2 places to the right, which makes it a 55, a whole number. And in the denominator, we have 10,000. And of course, we can simplify it further. So 5 times 11 divided by 5 times 2,000, or 2 times 5,000, either way. We have 11 over 2,000. That's a fraction, but this would just be a decimal. Remember, changing it to a decimal is shifting the decimal point 2 places to the left. Now, what have we done so far? We've taken a percent and changed it to a fraction. And remember, the fraction has to be presented in the lowest terms. Or we've taken a percent and changed it to a decimal. So changing this to a fraction would be 5 over 100, and simplifying further, changing it to a decimal would first start with a 5 over 100, but remember our final answer is a decimal, which means we shift the decimal point 2 places to the left and it makes it 0.05.